in life I'm talking about. So, for example, if you break your arm, that's a curse. When you go to the hospital, you might meet the love of your life who's nursing for you, and now all of a sudden it's a happily marriage. So, in the world of having, double the Google reviews of everybody else in the roofing game in our city, that's a blessing. The curse is you never get the easy jobs. You always get calls for the hard jobs, though. So what we have here is a Cedar conversion that we're doing some pre-job planning. And there's some very important considerations that you should know about if you're converting from Cedar. I want you to come along and look at me here. So everybody knows Cedar is really expensive, right? And so to replace it is really expensive. We're talking 5 times more expensive than asphalt shingles. So you could do something like metal, you could do something like rubber, but if you're only thinking about living in the home for an extra 10 years and you need something that's going to take care of the next homeowner for another 15, 20, 30 years, you can make a good choice with asphalt because this is a very steep roof. The snow just falls off. Look at the house across the street. There's lots of snow on that roof, right? But when you look at this customer's roof, there's no snow on it. But there's some very important considerations. Follow me. So, some of these homes, they have all the downspouts plumbing into the house that go into the city. Now think about it. Every single one of those cedar pieces of wood has 2 nails in it. There's going to be thousands of wood splinters, thousands of nails, all coming off this roof. If any of them end up in the downspout or end up in the eaves troughs and then end up in the downspout, it plugs it in there. We do not want to be ripping that apart to fix it. So we want to make sure that all those downpipes are plugged, right? Here's another huge challenge. If we take a look up here, right? First of all, how are we going to get on there? That's only about 16 inches wide up there. How are we going to actually shingle that little piece like that? So an important part of this job plan is getting something to lift us up there. We could set up a ladder, but that's going to dent that fascia metal. And look, it's already dented. I don't want to have to be responsible for taking it and putting it onto its last legs, right? So we actually have a little toe behind boom that's good enough for one person to work out of. You might have saw it in some of our Christmas light installation videos. We can actually get that in here because this is a concrete pad, and we can actually get that in here and it'll reach out 24 feet. So we'll actually be able to reach all the way up there. Now you'll notice at the top, there's what I call a trap for the 3 B's. Bugs, bats, and birds, right? We don't want to have any of those in your house, so we got to remove and replace that. So that's something that you're not going to get from doing those like satellite measurements, right? Like you can get a satellite company to basically just print out the measurements of the roof and you can produce an estimate. The reason that we're getting this job is because we actually came out and, inspect the property, and now we're just doing some pre-job planning. The other thing is, notice how that wood is all wet right there and has ice dripping off? That's because there's no downspout extension. So both all the water that's coming down this space as well as everything that's coming down the valley is all just basically overflowing and then pouring onto the roof. When you convert from cedar to asphalt, well, the asphalt shingles are going to wash the granules off, right? The water from here is going to wash the granules off and it's going to wear out that spot prematurely. Here's another consideration, okay? See how you can see that metal against the wall? So you have the stucco, and then you have the cedar shakes, and then in behind there you see that metal. We have to think, those shingles are this thick, and there's 2 of them on top of each other because they overlap. Well, now what you're going to have is you're going to see that metal, right? And so we have to discuss that with the homeowner up front so they understand that. You should make that decision only after having had it discussed. If you're converting from cedar, you will see that. And you have no idea how many times years ago, when we didn't bring that up with customers, the first thing that happened is the wife would pull up and she'd be like, it looks so ugly, right? It's because we didn't warn them ahead of time and they didn't get to make that decision for themselves. Follow me. Now, obviously, we're going to be tarping this whole area, right? You might hear it in a little bit, but there's a little dog barking at me the whole time. That little dog, I have a little dog too. Well, he's not so little. You've seen Thanos. He's pretty big. But I don't want him getting nails in his feet. So I have to treat this customer's property like I would treat my own property or want someone else to treat my property, which is that take care of my dog. Because if I get a nail in Thanos' stomach, you're going to die. So come on. Now, this is another tricky spot where you can see the fascia metal up there. is all coming down, and then it's just exposed wood there, basically running as a trim along the side of the chimney. So we've got some special plans to deal with that, right? Follow me. By the way, all these footsteps are ours, okay? We're gonna have to tarp off this deck back here because all that cedar is gonna come flying off this roof, especially all the stuff on this lower skirt, right? There's no drip edge on here. We're gonna have to make sure that gets put on because asphalt shingles, they're gonna curl over time, and the water could actually drip off and go back behind the gutter and rot out what's called your fascia wood, right? That wood that's basically where your gutters are mounted. Follow me. So this deck here, we don't want this to get completely destroyed. So we're gonna tarp this off, and especially we're gonna actually put plywood on the hot tub to protect that. The other thing is, cables like this, we need to know if you're actually gonna be reusing that. You can't see that from space. So we actually have to check for things like this cable. There's a satellite dish on the other side. We have to inspect all this stuff, right? The big thing is that separates us and gets us those Google reviews is this pre-job planning process, right? Where we actually inspect the property, plan out the job up front, and we document it. We've already taken, Matt, how many pictures have we taken?
27.
27 pictures. And then we're gonna be taking pictures all throughout the 2 or 3 days that this job is gonna take, and we're gonna take pictures when the job is done. Because the thing is, when this guy paints his deck, right, he comes out, looks at the guy who built the deck and goes, well, why'd you have to cut a piece of wood here? Like, why couldn't it be one long piece just like that? And oh, you know, I don't really like that the gap is bigger here, right? But when you get the roof done, this is what's gonna be happening when we're done the roof. So, Mr. Customer, what do you think? Looks good, eh?
Looks like a roof.
Because the issue is that it's scary to walk on that roof, right? That's a steep roof. You're not gonna get up there and check the roofer's work. So we have to document it for you so you can see everything come together. Follow me. You can leave that open for now. The dog's inside. Oh no, you go ahead. All right. So a couple other things we got to protect. No. See these lights? Right now these are already broken, but we don't want to make sure we break this last one that's still intact. Come with me. So again, you got more downpipes that are coming right in here. Satellite dish, we got to make sure we know if that's staying or going. And finally, we got to protect that air conditioner. So all of this stuff is things that we have to address with the pre-job plan before we even think about actually doing the roof. So if you're converting from Cedar, you absolutely got to give us a call and get us to do our pre-job plan with you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.